Hello. Welcome to another episode of Tomes and Tunes. I am Arielle Silver, your ridiculous host, and I am coming to you with episode 69. 69 weeks I've had a different guest every week, songwriters from around the world, and we talk about books and we swap songs, and we also inevitably talk about who knows what comes up in the show, but we've talked about artistry and creativity and spirituality and politics at times. It has been a obviously crazy year and a half, and here we are with episode 69. It's been a really beautiful way, I have to say, in this time of COVID to connect with songwriters in this way. Not just, I've been doing these song circles behind the scenes, which is actually how I met this week's guest. And the song circles are really great. We get to hear each other's work and get to know each other a little bit. But this weekly show, I've been able to talk with songwriters, and, it's just been a wonderful way for songwriters to connect and for you all to get to know what we're doing, right? So if you are tuning in now while we're live, please say hi in the chat box. And if you're tuning in after the fact as well, say hi in the chat box, because we'll come back and see the comments. It's always really nice. What do I need to tell you about this week before I get into my guest? Tones and Tunes 69, for those of you who are honoring the days of awe and today's Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. You're probably not tuning in right now, but I am wishing Lashana Tova to all of you all. And then the year goes on. We're in a new academic year, so I know that a lot of folks have just started school. Here in California, they started school about a month ago, and so we're fully in the school year now. I teach creative writing at Antioch University, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the texts that I am bringing to my students in a couple of weeks when they join me. So, bringing in a little bit of school today. And then as for myself, I have a couple shows. I am playing a show this weekend. If you are in the Los Angeles area, I'm playing a house concert on Sunday in not La Cañada. La Crescenta, next door, La Crescenta. So if you're interested in coming to an intimate outdoor sunset house concert, just let me know in the chat box, and I will make sure you have the RSVP information. What else? News. I got this cool little tea thing in the mail today, Mosey tea. I'll tell you a little bit about it in a bit, but I'm kind of enjoying it, so you might see me sipping out of something new today. That's all aside. The most important thing about today is that my guest is Tracy Newman. So Tracy is a songwriter. I'm very excited to bring her on. She's also a TV writer. She is a lot of things. She's had a really varied career, and she and I bumped into each other. First met at the Fiddler's Crossing Zoom song circle, of course, with COVID, everything being online and sort of behind the scenes. And I have just fallen in love, not just with her music, but with her. You'll just see, if you don't know Tracy already, she's just one of those people, infectious, I think. That's not a good word anymore, is it, with COVID? Let me think of a better word. Delightful is a better word. So anyway, here we are, bringing Tracy in right now. Tracy.
So two things. First of all, you said, my guest, big smile. My guest today is Tracy Newman. Like, it was like so
my guest, Tracy, it's very serious. That's funny.
Anyway.
Oh my gosh. Tracy, so I know you as a songwriter.
Wait, I'll say hi to Kevin.
Oh yeah.
And say hi to Tom Hubbard, who's been really patiently waiting for about 5 minutes. And I don't know Mark, but
Mark and Susie are both tuning in from Texas. They're both tuning in from Dallas, actually. Hi, Susie. Hi, Mark.
Oh, Susie, too, yeah.
Mark, I don't know if you're the furthest guest. Oh, you're on holiday in Brazil. Ooh.
Oh, my God.
Okay, you might That might be true today. That's awesome, Mark. How very cool.
Yo, Kevin.
Kevin was a guest on the show a while back, couple months ago. Kevin, has that much time passed already? A couple of months ago now. And that was a really, really fun show. Oh, and Ken.
And Ken Hall. We could spend the whole time.
I know. This hello. It's like romper room sometimes, if you remember that.
I do.
Tracy, your career is fascinating, and I'm curious about it from a creative standpoint. So you write children's songs, which
I do now. I do. Yeah, I have a grandson who's 4 years old, and I had started it before he was born, but I just kind of had a feeling I was going to need them. When my daughter got married.
That's so funny, because everybody needs children's songs in their pocket to pull out. You're right. And when I listen to your children's songs, they're really playful. They are a little bit absurd the way children's music is. Drawing like I'm thinking of that dinosaur on the sidewalk.
Oh yeah, taking a walk in your dinosaur.
Right. But you're a serious, I don't know if I should say that that's not serious songwriting. It's serious songwriting from a craft standpoint, but from a topic and subject standpoint, you're also a serious songwriter.
Well, I do songs for grown-ups and songs for kids. Actually, sometimes I listen to or I write a kid's song and realize that can go on an adult album too, a grown-up album too. I think it's melding together now as I get older and go along in this. They're not really just for children.
It's kind of like how those animated movies like Toy Story, the grown-ups always walk out of the theater.
Yeah, they're always
tears
crying,
streaming down their face, right? Like,
yep.
The kids love it, but the adults are like, "Oh my gosh, that gets my heart."
Yeah.
Right. But also, you're one of the founding members of the Groundlings.
Yep.
You have a career as a TV writer and comedy, and I'm thinking that playfulness that probably comes into the writer's room and the stage is sort of the same thing that you're drawing on with the children's music. Is that?
Yep. It's pretty much all comes from the same place. It's a lot of. I've spent most of my adult life laughing. I'm not kidding. I'm really. I hung out at the Improv in New York in the '60s, and even though I was a singer-songwriter and in clubs in New York, I would go hang out at the Improv after my job, and I was hanging around with all these comics and improvisers, and that's where I picked up on that. And when I was involved with the Groundlings when we started the Groundlings, it was really that experience that I was drawing from, And the Groundling was just all laughing, and then the TV writing room, all laughing, all of it.
I love how I'm listening to you telling this story, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Now, so you're saying that when you were starting out as a songwriter, you would go hang out at the Improv.
No, I wasn't writing songs back there. I was a folk singer in New York, and I was singing Bob Dylan songs and some pretty, like eclectic, weird. I don't even know where I got the songs I was singing besides Bob Dylan and a few other people. But at that time, Bob Dylan was one of the first songwriters, who got up there and sang. And because most songwriters before that were selling their songs to singers. So when Bob Dylan hit the scene, it was like all of us people who were singing and playing were going, oh, we can do that? Not just Bob Dylan, of course. Phil Oakes was there. There were plenty of people that were doing it, but it was new to me.
Yeah.
And that changed the picture of folk music, really.
I never have thought about this before. This idea, that moment of shift.
Yeah, it was a huge shift.
As a way that sort of gave those of us who have, different kinds of voices, not those perfect,
Right, it was a time when
gave us permission to sing these songs or sing any songs, whether they're covers or originals.
You really hit the nail on the head with that. The idea that a person who if you could really write a great song, it didn't matter if you were a great singer, if you could perform, and you've written and you focused on your words and your music, you could get somewhere because people did. I mean, obviously the best singers like Joni Mitchell surfaced, and James Taylor. Bob Dylan, though, is an exception. I mean, you wouldn't have thought of him as a great singer. That's why a lot of our parents didn't like him. Our parents were, well, he's not a singer. They didn't know what to do with him. Right.
But really great at expressing.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a different thing, but it's related, right?
I remember my mother saying, I can't understand a word he's saying. And the truth is, if you go back and look at the videos of him singing things like Blowing in the Wind at the very beginning, you can understand every word. Right. It was when he got into rock and roll and stuff, and he started using that kind of music on stage, electric, and the kind of songs he was writing then, he would yell them and stuff. It was very hard to understand what he was doing. But at the beginning, when our parents were saying, we can't understand him, he was perfectly understandable. He was clear.
But their ears were sort of attuned to a different aesthetic.
To a good voice.
Right.
To like a pretty voice. He didn't have a pretty voice.
Wow, I'm really putting this together a little bit for me because I'm an East Coaster and I live here in Los Angeles now. And something that I notice, I think a difference between the songwriting scene that I was in on the East Coast versus here. Not that I ever thought any of my co-songwriters had bad voices. Not at all. I never thought about that at all. But here in LA, the singers are phenomenal. It's intimidating,
there's some great
actually.
Singers. There's some great singers.
It's like the singers are and then they're singing these songs, theirs or other people's. But there are a lot of really astounding vocalists here in LA.
Yeah, well, it's when they come along and they can also perform and they can also write that it's just like, and you just want to go, okay, that's it. I'm done. Or you try to get them to do one of your songs.
Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, so that's interesting that you said, okay, here, I'm done. Because the fact is you've had a long career, so you've thought that, but you actually have had, you haven't.
Well,
you haven't thrown the towel in.
It didn't stop me. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But I'm not that kind of singer, though. I mean, nobody goes away from one of my shows saying, what a great voice. I'm not saying they don't like my voice. They may like it, but it's not the thing that sticks out.
Oh, I love your voice.
Well, thank you.
But I know what you're saying.
I love your voice, by the way.
Thank you. We'll have like a duo right here.
A voice off.
Yeah. Okay, so that's wow. My brain is just sort of exploding a little bit with that with that permission that that those singers, that those songwriters, Bob Dylan and co, sort of gave me. How did you turn to TV writing? Where did that to me is like another turn.
Yeah, but it isn't. It's kind of all connected. The Groundlings used that side of me that I had seen at the Improv in New York, the sort of like loose, funny side, and hanging around comics. I was attracted to funny men, so. So the class that became the Groundlings, I got very involved in that, and I got involved in the business of creating a company. And during the time that I was in the Groundlings, which was maybe 15 years, 20 years, I got out of the Groundlings, but I was still teaching. The whole time that I was there, though.
Wait, what were you teaching? Music?
Teaching song improv and class, just improv classes. I mean, we had a school eventually because so many people wanted to get in. Hey, the minute that my sister Lorraine Newman, was chosen for Saturday Night Live, which was in 1974, that put us on the map. It didn't put us on the map the way Pee Wee Herman did, but it put us on the map enough so that everybody in town wanted to join.
Yeah.
When Pee Wee came, it was the whole industry was there all the time. But back then, it was just kids who would come in and say, I want to do this. And there wasn't room for everybody, so we started a school so that there was it would be a waiting list, like a waiting list. But anyway, what you do in the Groundlings is you do an improv, and maybe it becomes, one of the improvs you do looks like a good sketch. And you try to recreate it, and then you have to sit down and start writing it. and rewriting it and then putting it on its feet. And like a Hollywood, like a Broadway show, you just put it on its feet and you do rewrite. And I learned to rewrite in the Groundlings. And rewriting is what happens in TV. Yeah, you have to write the script, but most of it's rewriting and editing and rewriting. So that made me, I would say, capable of doing TV, but not in the sense that I understood that. It took me a couple years to get that. And, another groundling, the guys that were running Cheers at the time said to the guy that became my writing partner, John Stark, said to him one day, why don't you send me a spec script for Cheers? So he came to me and he said, because I knew how to type, and also I found him funny, and he said, let's write a script together. So we did, and then we got hired by our friends who were running Cheers, because really it's a business of who do you know. It really truly is, And then we got an agent, and then from there we went to each show. I mean, when Cheers ended, we were on Bob, which was a reincarnated Bob Newhart type show, with Bob Newhart, and then The Nanny, and then various other shows.
So I'm curious about the creative process, because you made a point of saying rewriting.
Yeah.
What do you think rewriting is? What is it on a micro level? Like when you're getting into it, what is happening from a creative standpoint?
Well, when it's comedy, it's like you're trying to tell a story, but with laughs in it, essentially, and an ending. A song is, first of all, we were just writing sitcoms, so that's about a 22, 23-minute script. So you're telling a story with a beginning and a middle and an end and a lot of laughs and hopefully an emotional ending. Well, when I write songs, so that's a 3 to 4 minute, same thing. I happen to write songs, hopefully, that have some laughs in them, but that's not really all I ever was aiming for. It's that emotional through line, that hopefully take your listener on a little journey, well, whatever journey you're taking yourself on when you're writing it, that I hope it's got a few laughs in it, but also has a message, not a message, but a feeling at the end.
I think that there's a relationship between delivering real emotional truths and that laughter, that delight, that kind of like, what is that?
I don't know. You just said it though. Emotional truth. I mean, you hopefully anything you're writing has an emotional through line and is honest. It's like it doesn't have to be. It has to be the truth. It really does. It doesn't have to be the facts. It doesn't have to be facts.
Right.
But it has to be. Because like when you write a song about a lover, for instance, you're not going to use his name. That would be the true fact.
Right.
You might use somebody else's name or no name, and you might change the incidences, things that happen. But the emotional truth is what you're telling.
Yeah.
And that's what the important thing is in a sitcom as well. I mean, the better sitcoms.
So here's our first plane of the show.
Oh,
Burbank Airport, flying over. So for those of you in New York, keep your eye to the sky. In about 6 hours, this one's going to be landing, unless it's coming from you and landing here.
Let me take this time to say hello to Alan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which Alan you are. You should put your last name in there so that I know which I can place you.
It's Alan 2A1L.
Yeah, I know. I know. But, Alan 2A1L. Alan
So do you remember?
Oh no! I'm trying to see.
Oh no!
There.
Much better. Oh, Alan August. Hello, Alan August.
Oh, hi, Alan August.
So how did you get into? What is the seed of songwriting for you? When did you write your first song? Where did that come from?
Well, did you write your first song when you were a teenager?
I wrote the music to a poem that someone else wrote when I was 13, and then when I was, I think, 18, I think it was 18 or 19. Yeah, I wrote my first like play guitar, sing a
Hmm.
song together. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that I wrote my first songs when I was in high school, and that was just usually about boys, or something related to boys and love. And I don't know. In the '70s, I started really writing, and then after TV, that was when I was serious about it. When I left
Oh,
TV,
okay. The
because
music part got serious after TV.
well, no,
Oh.
I was writing serious. It was all serious before that, but it wasn't an unbroken time. And so after TV, I quit writing TV to become a singer songwriter seriously.
Oh,
Not
okay.
in terms of like becoming successful in terms of selling songs, but I really wanted to write what I wanted to write. In television, there's somebody over your shoulder all the time. There's the network or the studio or your partner or the star, or whatever. Somebody's always telling you what to write or what not to say.
Right.
So when I started writing songs, I was thrilled to, you know, I'm much rougher on myself too, I'm sure you are,
Mm.
than any critic. You know.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like a special kind of freedom to be so hard on yourself.
Yeah,
But to not
yeah.
have it be someone else being hard on you.
Right, and the thing is, you know when your song is done.
Yeah.
Some people say, "Well, you're nitpicking, or that song's never going to be done." But see, the thing is, I don't know about you, but I can't play it unless it's done. I can't play it unless everything's right in it for me. I might try to, but I'll find myself forgetting the words, or
Right.
all kinds of things will happen that tell
Right.
me, no, I can't do it yet. It's not ready.
Yeah.
You
So when
know,
you say you can't play it, do you mean you can't perform it?
I can't do it. I just,
You can't
I'll
get
want to
through.
stop at a certain line and just rewrite it right there.
Huh.
you know,
Yeah, I feel like I could be faster at that for myself. I feel like I will get faster at that, but I tend to like play a song over and over, and
Me
it's
too.
like I know something's not right, but I'm still like, I'm still going around and around over and over. It might take days or weeks for me to figure out, identify what is the thing that's not working here, and then how can
Yeah.
I fix it. Sometimes
Well,
it takes a
it's
while.
that's why I don't know about you, but I can't write when anyone's in the house.
I'm in my backyard shed right now. This is where I write. Yeah, I can't write around other people.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I can repeat one line
Yeah.
exactly the same 100
Yeah.
times. And
Yeah,
somebody
all
would say,
afternoon.
what are you doing? Because you're not writing, it's not changing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you wait sometimes till it changes itself.
It's almost like you're
It's like,
walking around a sculpture. Like you have to see it from all dimensions in
yeah,
order to know if it's all resolved in the space. And
yeah,
it takes a while, especially because music happens over time. You can't just pause and look at a word for a while. It's like you have to play that line over and over and over again because it's gone in 5 seconds. So it's like then you have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it.
at least this is the way I mean, I think the Nashville writers, the ones that really like, they do those 3 hour co-writes,
Yeah.
two or three of those a day.
Yeah.
They get fast. They do get fast. I
Yeah.
just don't know if I'll ever get fast like that.
Well, do you co-write or do you mostly
I
just
do
write a song?
sometimes, but I don't often sit in a room and co-write. I've done it.
Right,
I've
right.
done it, but I've done it less and less as years have gone on. I'm pretty pushy.
Yeah.
Either that, I either take over or I lay back so much that I don't contribute.
Ah,
I said
interesting.
I've become a bad co-writer.
I was listening to an interview with Lori McKenna, the songwriter. She
Mm-hmm.
lives in Boston and she is a Nashville writer, and she's one of my favorite songwriters currently. And I mean, I say currently, I mean for like the last 20 years, she's been one of
Yeah,
my
no, I
favorite
know. I know what
songwriters.
that's like. Yes.
And she was saying that when you get into a room with two other writers, because nowadays it's oftentimes a trio
Yeah.
when it's a co-writing setting. She said that you have to kind of figure out what is your role that day. Is your role to be the artist? Is your role to be the coffee getter? Is your role to be the idea person or the lyricist or the producer? It's like figuring out what is your role, like who else is in the room, and how can you best support just that magical chemistry that's happening right there.
Yeah, it's the dynamic of the three of you, and then another one person leaves and another person, you're suddenly later in the day you're with two other people and it shifts. You think that, my skill though is blah blah blah, and then with these two people it's not that.
Right.
Because there's somebody that does that better than you there, and it shifts you to something else. And it really is amazing, I think.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, do you think it's similar to being in a room with
it's like a writer's room.
Like a writer's room, right? It's just music writer's room.
Except a writer's room, a TV writer's room is the ones I've been in sometimes are either there's 10 to 12 to 15 people. It's not that often that it's 2 or 3 people. It's really a group.
I have wondered how that works. I've never been in that room, but I've read about it. I've heard about it. I have friends who are writers, and I
it's very hard. It's very hard. I have to say it's very hard.
It's a lot of spaghetti, throwing ideas, and then and what rises up.
Yeah,
and you might have a really great idea for yourself that really resonates. You're like, this is a great idea, but it just.
Well, there's politics. Politics is true, but it's not really the word I'm looking for. It's like there's a little bit of a pecking order, maybe a lot of a pecking order. But the thing is, you can throw something out there that's great, and if they don't pick up on it, you can't repeat it, which was something I learned the hard way. We all learn it the hard way. You think, well, they just must not have heard that. No, I heard it. We didn't like it. It's pretty brutal.
Right, sort of like when I was driving with my sweetheart one day, and I was like, do you want to turn right here? And then we kept going, and I was like, wait, did you want to turn right? And then I said it a third time, and it did not make for a nice evening.
No, you probably said I heard you the first time.
I didn't know if I was heard.
Yeah, well, it's definitely that way in the writer's room until you really learn sort of the way it works, and there's one person usually in the room is the one that decides what goes in the script. So 4 people can be pitching jokes, and sometimes you don't even know which one made it into the script. Could be 4 things were said that got laughs, and because you did, and then you missed the moment where the guy running the room, it is mostly a guy, most of the time, not always, right. Who has said, who has told the writer's assistant to put, sometimes the writer's assistant, if they're really good, they know which line goes in. Nobody tells them.
Right. Okay, I want to ask you about the Ellen coming out episode, because I remember that show. I remember when it happened. I remember
that was for people who don't know that, it was in 1996. I won the Emmy in 97, but it was 96.
Oh, was that early? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I know, it was more than 20 years ago.
I know, I thought it was in 98 or 99. Okay. Interesting. So can you talk about that a little bit, how that came, or I don't know, just about the writing process of that?
Well, first of all, that was a room of about 14 writers. So somebody had to be chosen to write. It was a 1-hour show. But the first half hour ends with her saying she's gay. So somebody had to write that first half hour. And my partner and I had been on the show from the beginning almost. I think we had come in and made the 5th episode of that show, first season. So we'd been there 4 or 5 seasons. Nobody else had, except one guy. One guy had. One guy who was kind of her personal writer before that. I always wondered, frankly, why we were chosen by the network and the studio to write that episode, but it only recently occurred to me, we had longevity. But also we were a man and a woman, and we were straight. I'm going to say, I probably shouldn't say that, but we are straight. And the reason...
Thank you for coming out.
I think,
right here, folks. This is the Tomes and Tunes Tracy Newman episode where she comes out as straight.
For all of you who, you should read Kevin. While I'm answering this, you should read Kevin's question, because he actually has a question here.
Yeah, I see it.
But it's too long for me to read while I'm talking, because I'm so busy talking.
Keep talking.
Anyway, so I believe they chose us because I think they perhaps thought that I don't even know if this is true. I'm really making this up. That perhaps a straight couple would be writing it more for mainstream America, would be gentler or something, or more less in, because there were some gay people on staff that great writers could have done it too, and I don't know why, but I just always felt like that was part of the reason. And anyway, we wrote that first half hour where she ends up at the airport saying I'm gay, which was her idea, by the way, to say it on the airport PA system, which I think it had been on, something like that had been on Wings, another series before that.
I remember Wings, yeah. Oh, here we go, another airplane. So you talk for a second while this flies.
Yeah, all right. So anyway, the way that this whole thing happened, though, was Ellen, for 4 or 5 seasons, we had been fixing her up with men. And she finally said, no more dates. Well, here's this show, this series where she runs a bookstore, she's got a couple of friends, and no passion about anything, really. And in fact, this is an apocryphal story. I don't think this is true, but it's such a good story that I would tell it. That Mike Eisner and Mike Ovitz and I don't know who else. I'll just make it up. I'll say Dean Valentine, who at that time was head of something at Disney or at ABC, one of the two, and maybe 1 or 2 other executives were talking. And Mike Eisner said, "What's wrong with the Ellen Show? She's so good, and it's not getting the ratings. Let's get her a boyfriend." And somebody in the room said, "Well, she's gay and she doesn't want to date men on the show anymore." And he said, "Then get her a girlfriend." And Mike Ovitz, by the way, without batting an eye, and Mike Ovitz said, "Don't even think about it." And he said, "All right, get her a puppy." And so that's called the puppy episode. That's that show. But there's other reasons it's called the puppy episode if you talk to the other writers. Everybody's got a story about this. Anyway, Ellen, in the summer right before that season, had a party for the writers, and that's when she announced that she wanted to come out on the show. And we tried to keep it a secret, which is interesting, with 14 or so writers and all the production staff and everybody was supposed to keep this secret quiet for 26 episodes or 24 episodes, and it was quite a ride. We had bomb threats, we had the religious right was very rough on Disneyland and stuff like that. They were threats, a lot of threats.
Well, I mean, it's funny, talking about it now in today's context.
It's like nothing.
No big deal. But the
Yeah.
reason it's no big deal now is because that was a groundbreaking episode. That
Well,
was
the only
an
thing,
important
yeah,
historical moment in.
Right. I mean, there had been gay characters on shows before,
Right.
and they had been main characters, but not the star, and certainly not the woman. Because that word lesbian was such a buzzword. I mean, I wrote a song for the, like a theme song for it, to play at the end of the episode. And it had things, I could even do a little bit of it. Let's see. The last verse of it was, "Who's got a lesbian style? Who's got a lesbian smile? Who's that cuckoo lesbian chick? Who, Ellen?" That was the last verse of it. And I think, and they recorded it. Jolie Fisher, who was on the show, star on the show, sang it, and they made the recording for the ending. And then ABC just said no. Even though that was, up until the end, that was going to be the ending. And then they got Melissa Etheridge, and they got a joke from Melissa Etheridge at the end, and that was a better ending, really. But the word lesbian, I don't even think it's in the script.
Right.
I mean, it was so hard to do that with a woman. it'd have been much easier to have a guy come out,
Right.
a lead guy.
Right. Well, because it wouldn't have been as radical of a thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it was so hard because it hadn't been done.
And also,
Good.
look at, I mean, the idea that the people in middle America didn't know that she was gay. It's
Right.
amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody knew in
Yeah.
California, in New
Yeah.
York,
Yeah. Boston, everywhere.
Right? Yeah,
The
everybody knew.
coasts.
And,
Yeah.
and she was so loved, and she's maybe one of the only people that could have gotten away with this at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
At great risk to her career.
Yeah. So cool to be part of that.
Yeah, it was pretty
Okay.
remarkable.
I'm going to read Kevin's question now. Where are you, Kevin? There you are. Why did you choose to focus on songwriting at that point as opposed to screenplays or short stories or books or any other kind of expression?
Well, that's a very good question, Kevin. You're such a bright man. Um, I had been a singer-songwriter before writing for TV, and I wanted to go back to singing on stage. And of course, I was dying to get up at Kulak's and sing for 10 people and a dog, which is what I did. No, I just think I always wanted to go back to it, and I just figured that, in fact, when I quit TV, we had just sold According to Jim. So we got our own show on the air, which is like winning the lottery in TV. And I stayed for 2 years, and after that, I just said, 2 seasons, and then I just told my partner, this is it for me, I'm leaving. And the first thing I did was I went to Nashville and went to one of those, songwriting 101 things, some little weekend seminar.
Yeah.
And I wrote Waffle Boy, which is the song that Tom Hubbard was mentioning at the beginning. So Waffle Boy was the first song I wrote. There are other ones I say are the first ones, but they're in different categories. This was a story song. I actually saw it happen at a Waffle House in Nashville, or some pancake place, and a waffle place. And I obviously I embellished it, if you know the song, but the germs of it were really happening right in front of me at that place. So, have I answered your question, Kevin? I'm not a very good screenplay. I had written a screenplay and I had written a book, but I never did anything. The screenplay was made into a movie, but it was a Disney movie, TV movie. And as far as the book, it's just too salacious.
You have to wait till everybody's gone,
right?
right?
Well, the main person's gone already. So besides me, so maybe my daughter will put it out after I go. I don't know.
I'm struck by Ken and Tom are talking here about the 10 people and the dog at Kulak's.
Yeah, by the way, Tom Hubbard was the dog.
Yeah.
Peggy, this dog Peggy. Is that right, Peggy?
So Tom first chimed in and said, usually my dog, and then Ken said, I was one of those 10 people and a dog. Some nights I was the dog, but then I like to switch it and say, some nights I was the dog, usually my dog. If we put it in that order, it turns it around. But I when you said that, it hit something in me, that 10 people and a dog, like, you really wanted to get up there. Like,
I wanted to perform.
Having already seen a measure of success, great measure of success, you wanted to get into the small room and play for 10 people and a dog. Or anybody, right?
I was a performer in my 20s, and I had a lot of opportunities. I was good. I wasn't a great singer. I wasn't a stand-up comic. I was not a great guitar player, but I was good on stage. Whatever I was, because I was comfortable on stage, which is a lot of all it takes, really, is if you're comfortable up there, it puts an audience at ease. So I had a lot of opportunities, and at the Groundlings, I had opportunities, but I was very involved with my boyfriends, if you know what I mean, and their careers. Mm-hmm. And I think we think when we're young that these opportunities will always be there, Mm-hmm. But I did a PBS series, that you can see on on YouTube. You can see all of them, all the songs I did on PBS. And all you have to do is type Tracy Newman. What's New was the name of the show. And that was a show that they plugged me into it. It was a show that was already existing. And so there must be 30 or so songs that I did on there that are actually on YouTube. The most popular one has almost 4 million viewers. So,
wow.
Yeah. So you can see what I was like, what kind of performer I was in my 20s. And then, I don't know, when I got out of TV and I started performing, I wasn't different. I was just older. Which, of course, in Hollywood makes no difference at all.
No, not for men. Just for men.
Yeah, just for men. No,
men are washed up. When they hit 27, men are done. But women,
Yeah.
they can go right into their 60s, 70s,
That's
80s.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was doing.
Yeah. So you said that you were comfortable on stage. Was that always the case, or did you
It
learn
really was
comfort?
always the case.
So you were just born comfortable on stage.
I just was born comfortable on stage as myself. I mean, with the Groundlings, a lot of it has to do with doing character work. My sister was brilliant at character work, but was not that comfortable as herself. I mean, she would tell you that. But I was comfortable as myself and couldn't do characters. So I wouldn't have gotten in the Groundlings now if I auditioned, because it's really based on character work.
Why do you think you were comfortable? Why were you just comfortable being yourself?
I just don't know. I was
on a
always
stage in
comfortable.
front of people? What is that?
I don't know what that is, but I'll tell you though, when I went back and was singing at Kulak's, I was very nervous. I wasn't nervous to be on stage.
There is no stage at Kulak's.
Right.
It's like just the wooden floor versus the carpet or something.
Right. But what I was nervous about was I knew that if I'm going to be up there playing the guitar, I have to have the guitar down. And even though I was a good guitar player, I started when I was 14, I was now writing songs, having to learn them, really learn them, and be able to perform without looking at my hands and without being concerned about guitar. And that was what I had to get over at Kulak. So I did the same song every week, every Monday night at the open mic. I did this song called My Kisses. I did it every week for probably 50 times until I was flat. That thing of just getting on stage was the same as being off stage.
Right. That totally neutral.
Neutral thing. Yeah, and the guitar work was fine. And
why that song? Why that?
It was
song?
Another one of the first ones I wrote when I got out of writing TV for TV, and it was it wasn't particularly funny, and it required not very much on the guitar, but it had to be perfect. That's a good question, though. I don't know. I think I had to keep the rhythm pretty steady. It wasn't a ballad where I could maybe fool around with the rhythm. It was a rigid, there were some things about it that had to keep steady. And, I just had to get to where I was, where all of that stuff was not my concern anymore. And I did it, now when I perform something, I find myself that I'll often, which part of this is going to give me trouble on stage? Because, generally I'm not a great guitar player. I'm not playing lead guitar. I'm just playing chords. And maybe some, passing moments that are kind of cool. But it's not...
You're a very nice guitar player, though.
But, it's nothing fancy is what I'm saying. So,
You're not doing that thing.
I'm not going...
Yeah.
I'm not doing any of that stuff. I like to sing those things, but I don't like to play them.
So that's curious to me, though, that you would show up every week and play the same song because you knew that you were trying to get to a level of comfort, a level of facility, a level of ease with.
Well, I knew how comfortable I was on stage, and if I just got up to talk, I should be that comfortable.
But you didn't think wow, the people here are the same people that have been here for the last 43 weeks, and they might be bored with this song. Like, maybe I should play another song. Like, that didn't...
No, remember what
Because you
they
were
do
like,
it.
this is an open mic, so this is for me to...
Right, and what they do at Kulak's is videotape you. So
Right.
that was the advantage too, is to have that videotape so that you go home and you take a look and you say, right there, that's what's making me nervous, or something
So
like
you
that.
would watch that, you would record every week?
Yeah, I
and
didn't always
play that,
watch it, but also, it's you can fail all across the country there because it's it's a whatever that's called
Oh, it's broadcast?
it's broadcast but not broadcast. It's a netcast or whatever all
Right.
over the world.
Yeah.
And people would write from Brazil and whatever. And
Right, they used to have that screen in front of the stage. I don't know if they still do.
yeah, they
You could see the
probably
comments.
still do. Yeah, and so
And it was
I had
kind of a crazy thing that Kulaks was doing way before,
way before.
live
I'm sure.
streaming, right? It was
Exactly.
They were live streaming.
They should have had their own TV show. I mean, there was a lot of reasons why that didn't happen, but that could have been very cool. A Kulak show.
Interesting.
Especially with all the opportunities, all the venues, TV venues now, all the channels.
Yeah.
I mean, Kulak's could have its own 24 hours channel.
Wow.
People getting up and singing.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, Tom says it wasn't always my kisses.
He
Place
wasn't
in the Sun and
he
Mama,
was
I
there.
Know You Ain't Santa were among the tunes you did back then.
That's true, but if you want to see the tapes, I've got them. And it's my kisses, my kisses, my kisses, my kisses.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tracy,
But he's right, I did those too.
this is so fun. This is really cool to talk with you. Up to this point, you and I have chatted in the chat box in our Zoom.
We never got to books.
Yeah,
We didn't
no,
talk about our
no,
books.
we're going there. We're going there right now. What
okay.
are you reading? Because this is Tomes and Tunes. I have to ask you.
Yeah, okay, so I just finished Philip Roth's American Pastoral, which I had read probably 30 years ago, and had seen the movie too. There's a movie with Ewan McGregor and it's a woman, Jennifer O'Neill. Is that an actress? Anyway, I think that's who it is. No, I don't want to say that because it might not be her. But anyway, Ewan McGregor is enough for me. And I was reading, one of the reasons I read it is I was reading the biography by, I made sure I had this available, by Blake Bailey. It's an authorized biography. Philip Roth gave him everything. Letters, everything. And said for when he died. And the book is, the biography is, I was listening to it. I didn't finish it, listened to most of it. It's hard to listen to because it's very, very detailed. It's very good. And I will get back to it. But when he started talking about American Pastoral, I thought, I'm going to read that again. So I was listening to Ron Silver, did that, the actor Ron Silver. It is great performance.
So this is all on Audible?
Yeah, on Audibles. And it's a great, American Pastoral is just staggeringly well written. I mean, there were sections I'd be listening to and thinking, I am riveted and I can't tell you why.
Huh.
I mean, think about that.
Huh.
To be just, I just wanted to hear what was going to happen and everything, and I couldn't tell you exactly why. There were small things. He's brilliant. He was such a great writer.
Do you ever listen to a book on Audible and then buy the
No, I haven't done that yet because I haven't been listening on Audible or Kindle or reading on Kindle. I haven't. Yeah, I'm thinking of Kindle as because it's a computer. I since I started to do Kindle, I don't buy hardcover books anymore. But let's see, have I ever been moved from Kindle to buy one? I may have.
I'm thinking more from I do
I know what you
Audible
mean.
as well, and I hear, and sometimes I'm like, wow, that that language or that idea is so beautiful or so intriguing, I want to linger on it a little longer. And when it's read to me on Audible, it goes by like music, except it's a much longer, it's hours versus a 3-minute song. I can't just rewind and go back.
No,
And go back and
you're
listen
right.
back.
I haven't been moved to do it, but I can certainly very clearly see why.
Yeah.
I read also Mike Nichols, the Mike Nichols biography by, I think his name is Mark Harris, the writer of that. That is brilliant. That is really, and I'm such a Mike Nichols fan, or I was.
So you tend to go from the, like, you read the work, or
I've never done this before.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
It's like you want to know more about the person behind the artist, right?
Well, in the case of Mike Nichols, I was a big Nichols and Mike Nichols and Elaine May fan in the '60s, but also I'm reading it and it's making me go back and watch movies I missed. Either I missed them or I dismissed them.
Right.
Something like Heartburn with Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep. His relationship with Meryl Streep, when he saw Meryl Streep, how he reacted to that, and the things he wrote for her, or properties that he wanted to produce and direct. I don't know. I related to him a lot, maybe because of the Groundlings and my improvisation history. I just was so interested in Mike Nichols and Elaine May.
I'm intrigued now too.
And I went to a dinner that I go to occasionally, a movie night. That is sometimes is very star-studded, and at somebody's house. And Elaine May and Jeannie Berlin, who is her daughter, were there when I was reading the Mike Nichols thing. And the movie was something she had directed, The Heartbreak Kid. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I got invited to this. Because, they didn't know I was reading the Mike Nichols book.
It just adds layers and layers
it was amazing.
Of everything. Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have I know that you're doing these on Audible, but do you have a passage of any of this that you would like to share? Is there any piece, any excerpt or anything?
Something did come to mind, but I don't, I would have too much trouble finding it. American Pastoral, the main character his nickname is the Swede. And, everybody's Jewish. And it was a description of, I don't know, I can't remember it, but it was just amazing to me. My level of interest in what it was actually about was just, I don't know.
I haven't read it, and so now it's on my list.
Well, it's a tragic story, really. I hate to give it to you that way, but So, no, I don't have a passage of anything. It's when it's in Audibles, it's like if I had the hardcover book, I probably would have bent the corner or something.
I know. Yeah.
You're right. I've lost that ability.
Right. Yeah.
Although there's probably a way to do that. I know with Kindle there is.
Yeah, with Audible, I sometimes you can kind of put a clip or make a mark or something like that, but then I never go back to it.
Yeah.
But in theory, I guess I could. Well, I will share that I am reviewing this book, Free Play, by Stephen Nachmanovich.
What is Free Play about?
Free Play subtitle is Improvisation in Life and Art.
Wow.
so apropos to this conversation, I teach a course at Antioch University. I have for the last 5 years now, I think, called Sources of Creativity, and it's listed as an arts class, and we look at research into creativity, what makes creativity, what are, really like on a micro level, like what are the steps, and it's been studied extensively, largely funded by corporations and business because they want to figure out how to make their companies more innovative, but the research is still there, even though that's where the funding has come from. But this book, Stephen Nachmanovich, I'll just read this little bit. Mastery comes from practice, he says. Practice comes from playful, compulsive experimentation and from a sense of wonder. The athlete feels compelled to run around the track just one more time, The musician feels compelled to play that fugue just one more time. The potter wants to throw just one more pot before going to dinner. Then just another, please. The musician, the athlete, the dancer move through their practice in spite of aching muscles and breathless exhaustion. This level of performance cannot be attained through some Calvinistic demands of the superego, through feelings of guilt or obligation. In practice, work is play, intrinsically rewarding. It is that feeling of our inner child wanting to play for just 5 minutes more.
Oh, I never really thought about it that way. The 5 minutes more thing.
It's like 5 minutes more and then 5 minutes more again.
Yeah, and then 5 minutes more.
I want to share this other little passage that I had underlined and came across today, because I remember I underlined it, I think, last year or the year before, and every time I encounter it, it just moves me. We simply have to have it, crazy as it may seem at times. Faith in the rightness of our aim, in the ultimate fittingness of the obstacles, tests, and lessons that present themselves along the way, in the integrity and mystery of our own evolution.
And the idea that there's even a thought that we don't need these things in school, music and art and stuff is very scary, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I had a great music program in my public school system when I was growing up.
I don't even know if I did. I was not interested.
Oh, I started playing violin in 3rd grade and clarinet in 4th grade, and desperately interested.
And did you learn to read music?
Oh yeah, I read music. Yeah, and it's like, my sweetheart is a composer and doesn't read music. It's totally, he has a great ear, and that's what music is all about, the ear. So there was some time, I still kind of lament the fact that I've been trained to read the music on the page. Does it really make it so you can't do things by ear? I think that you do develop a stronger ear by, I think that reading is, I love reading. I love reading books. I love reading music. I love the written word. I love the written music. To me, it's like, my brain lights up. I love it. But I do think that, for example, if you're blind, your sense of hearing is heightened. And I do think that there's that. If you don't learn to read, if you don't learn music first by reading it, but by listening to it, I do think that you develop a stronger ear.
Wow. Can you sit and take a classical piece and just sit and read it?
Yeah.
And know what it is and hear it in your mind?
I could, it depends on what it is. I don't know. I have music right here. I could pull it out and sing to you.
Oh, you can sing. You have sight singing and everything. That's so amazing.
But it's, it's clarinet. So if it was like a piano, 2 hands, multiple stuff, it takes a while. For me, it's definitely like a slow reading. But do you not read music at all?
I never. I not only do I not, I resisted it so often and so much, and I wish I hadn't. I'm always sorry that I don't read music.
I muted myself because of this plane, but
then nobody can hear. Okay.
But it's funny because when I picked up guitar, I was studying classical and Renaissance music. I was in college, and I picked up a guitar almost as a rebellion against that. I wanted to just intuitively, figure this out and feel the music differently.
But you were able to do it, right?
Well, here's the thing. It's kind of like what you just said. Like, I resisted. Like, I didn't take guitar lessons. I didn't want to learn. Like, I wanted to intuit, but I didn't want to be taught it.
You wanted it to just seep into you.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see here what Tom Hubbard says. Amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong.
Yeah, it's a real good way to put that, Tom.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Tracy. We got to hear some music from you. I know we already heard the lesbian song, but we got to hear a whole song.
When we were talking about what makes you write something, I was trying to think for a moment, like, what if I could do a song where I could tell you what made me write it, but no particular song was jumping out. Although my song Table 9 about Merle Haggard, I wonder if I should do that. You guys chime in now. We want waffles. Okay, so Waffle Boy, that's interesting, that being the first song that I did after writing TV. The thing is, the question is, can I do it without forgetting? I'm going to try that. Because what we're talking about, writing a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end, hopefully having something that's maybe funny in there, and then emotional, blah, blah, blah. That's what I tried to do. I didn't do it intentionally. You don't sit there and think, okay, now what's going to make people cry? It isn't that. It's like telling a story that holds together.
Ken says Table 9 wants waffles.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh. Now we want Table 9. See, Tom Hubbard wants Waffle Boy. Oh, now he wants Table 9.
Yeah, we got a few call-outs for Table 9.
I'll do Table 9.
But luckily there'll be a song circle again next week, and so whichever one you play now, you can play the other one.
Yeah, I haven't really done open mic. I think I did Waffle Boy once. I may not have because it's long. I'm going to do Table 9 because several things went into writing this. Are we on a time limit here?
No, go for it.
Okay. Just because I want to be able to say these things. One is that my plumber, I had a plumber who was in the songwriting class that I was in, Harriet Schock's songwriting class. He was in that class, and he and I were big Merle Haggard fans, and he told me that once he went into Norm's late at night, the restaurant, and at midnight, and Merle Haggard was sitting by himself, and he went over and, to tell him what a fan he was, and Merle Haggard invited him to join him, and they sat there for like an hour talking, and I remember thinking how jealous I was, first of all, that it happened to him and not me. And the other thing about it, though, was that being a woman, I kept thinking, could I have gone in there and done that? It's a different thing. I'm not Merle Haggard's age, but I'm not that far behind him, I mean, I could be his girlfriend. I could have been, I was that kind of age around him. So, I would have, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's that. Also, I was in a songwriting thing, wasn't a class, but it was called group therapy, and it was Marty Axelrod and Sean Cromwell and David Serby was in there, and Kelly Fitzgerald and Nicole Gordon, and there was a huge roster of wonderful writers in there. And
who
this
ran that group?
Marty Martin.
Yep,
it was Marty Martin's group.
My sweetheart used to be in that group as well.
What's his name?
Darby Orr. I don't know if you.
I think he was before me or after me. Oh, he had to be before me. Because Marty died. Anyway, he had us do, his prompt one week was to write a song where the title was, you had your initials. The words of the title were started with your initials. Well, I'm TN. And so I wrote down about 10 things, including 2 knives that...
Because your middle name is Catherine with a K.
Right. Well, and I wrote it down as Knives, but I didn't think about it until I was looking at it later, and I thought, what am I doing? Anyway, one of the... TN was Table 9.
That's the difference between reading music and hearing music.
Yes.
Right there. That's it.
That's it. So, and then I also had recently performed a gig and had mentioned Frank Sinatra, and there was a young woman in the audience who didn't know who he was and had never heard his name.
No.
That's not even somebody in the human race, right?
That's not even possible.
So I thought, well, I don't ever want that to happen to my favorite country singer, So I wrote this. And because I don't know how to play, I'll be singing the solo.
Oh.
I work the night shift He's here now and then. He orders coffee and takes out a pen. I offer him paper. No, this napkin is fine, says the man at table 9. He asks me my age. I'm 21. He smiles and says, how'd you get to be so young? I call him a flirt. He calls me sunshine. The man at table 9. Table 9's in the back by the payphone. There's always somebody whispering to me. You know you're waiting on the Okie from Muskogee. I don't know or even ask what that means. He just looks like a cowboy, kinda haggard and gray. They say he's a singer, folks pay him to play. But I can't imagine standing in line to see the man at table 9. One rainy night he comes in with a guitar. Somebody asks him to play us a tune. We pull down the shades and gather around him. He sings until almost 2. And when he's done, I bring him some pie. I say it's on me for that song Mama tried. I ask, did you write it? He says, every line. I hand him a napkin and ask him to sign. And when I get home, I'm gonna find him online. The man at table 9.
Yay!
I realize that she doesn't have to go home to find him online anymore. So
No, but then the pay. I was thinking about that, but the payphone
And the
is there,
payphone,
so
too.
you know.
Well, there are still restaurants that occasionally in the back there's a payphone, some of those older diners, but
Well, Tom Hubbard wants to know what one is. So
what's a payphone? They still have one at Farmer's Market by the ladies' room. One of those ladies' rooms. Clap, clap, clap. Thank you, you guys. Wait, did you ever send that to Mr. Haggard? Yes, I did. I tried to get it to Merle Haggard a number of times. I got it to his son, his young Ben. I sent it to him, on the computer. I knew his PR person, so she tried to get it to him too. But he was, by that time, he was not well. So, yeah.
you just paint such a vivid picture, that whole thing.
Well, the idea of being that age and seeing an old guy like that come in. You think of Willie Nelson, the way he looks and everything. Somebody who never heard of him, what are they going to think? You look at Merle Haggard in his later years. So I just wanted to put that, juxtapose those two ages, really.
Yeah. I was when I first moved to LA, I got a job working at ICM, the talent agency, and
Hmm.
I was a little bit older, and the folks that were working with me were a little bit younger, and I can't remember what spurred the conversation. I think something about Chris Christopherson and Janis Joplin came up, and nobody I worked with knew who she was.
At ICM. That's
Well, I
amazing.
mean, in my immediate circle
Hmm.
of coworkers, none of them knew who she was, and I just
I know
I didn't know how to respond to
I,
that. I was flabbergasted.
it's I don't know if I should say this, but I know my TV agent was Chris Silberman, and he's now the
Oh yeah,
president of ICM.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And he's still my agent, which is funny. Of course, I haven't written in TV in 20 years, but he he sometimes I'll write to him and I'll say, you're still my agent. Say, I'm not done yet. I'm not done. I might be done
Oh
with
come on!
television.
At least you get that holiday card, right? You get a holiday card.
I actually don't. Has never sent me a holiday
Oh
card.
my gosh. um, I didn't know what to play today. In
Oh
part
yeah.
because I just always love your writing so much that I don't know what to play.
Well,
As you're
we're so
sitting there.
different. Just remember, I always remember this. Well, I have to follow somebody that I'm like, I'm not sure this is how you feel, but sometimes I'll follow somebody that does exactly what I do.
Oh,
And they're great. They're just great. In my opinion, they're even better if I had to compare. And I'd sit there and think, why am I even going up? This is horrible. And then I realize, wait a minute, they're not me.
right,
That's all I have.
right.
All I
Right.
have is me.
Wait, I have to read
That's
that
what
quote that I already read, but I have to read that again because I think that that applies to this, right? We simply have to have it, crazy as it may seem at times, faith in the rightness of our aim, in the ultimate fittingness of the obstacles, tests, and lessons that present themselves along the way, in the integrity and mystery of our own evolution.
our own evolution. It's right there. That's exactly right. It's like, it doesn't matter. You can follow, the greatest thing you've ever heard, and you're presenting yourself. They can't do that.
No, that's true.
Not that you care what they can or can't do, but
Yeah.
that thing of just saying, I'm presenting me. That's all I have.
Well, I'm gonna present this then.
Yeah. You're doing Arielle.
I'm gonna do me. I would fail at doing you, so I'll just, since I'm the only other person here, I may as well do me, right?
Yes.
So let me see. This is a song called "Laugh About It." It's on the album that I released last summer, and the reason I wanted to play it today is because I completely what is the word I'm looking for? Like messed it up 12 ways to Sunday the other day. So I
Oh,
want to redeem the song and see if I can just play it today. But another reason, the reason I played it the other day was because recently a couple of people have said to me, "Oh, this is my favorite song on the album," and it's funny because this is like for the first year that the album was out, nobody ever mentioned the song to me, and so I was like, oh, okay, well, it's at the end of the album, I really love it, but that's okay if it's not calling attention to itself. But then recently people have said they like it, and then they follow that by saying, did you write this from your own life? Which I think is an interesting question because as you and I were talking about earlier, that emotional truth,
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that this song is more or less about my own life than any of the other songs on the album, but this one seems to be the one that people keep asking about recently. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because it's about a fight, and the number one thing that couples fight about is money, and they want to really imagine that Darby and I are fighting over money. I don't know if it's. So anyway, this is the song. Can you hear that okay?
Yeah.
This old roof is full of leaks. It's dripping in the kitchen. It's been raining for a week. We're fighting over money again, yeah. Barely making do, holding on to dreams. Gotta choose between the house and a tank of gasoline. It ain't too funny now, no. But the day's gonna come, honey, when we're gonna laugh about the days we counted every penny. And we're gonna laugh at all the ways our pockets came up empty. One thing I always thank is I got you beans or bank. We're gonna laugh, 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 laugh about it. Catching drops in a pail. The storm is never ending, and we're trying to fix the sail. Need something lucky now. Babe, don't turn to your side. Let's meet in the middle and swallow our pride. It ain't too funny now, no. But the day's gonna come, honey, when we're gonna laugh about the days we counted every penny. We're gonna laugh at all the ways our pockets came up empty. But one thing I always thank is I got you beans or bank. We're gonna laugh, 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 laugh about it. Forget about the check account. Take account of all the gifts we've got right here. And I am swimming in your love. I wouldn't trade it for $1,000,000 bucks. And we're gonna laugh about the days we counted every penny. We're gonna laugh at all the ways our pockets came up empty. One thing I always thank is I got you beans or bank. We're gonna laugh, 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 laugh about it. We're gonna laugh, 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 laugh about it.
Don't you think I got you beans or bank?
Yes,
It's a I've got you beans or bank. That's the line.
that is the line.
I kept thinking, am I hearing that right? I don't understand what that means. The beans, like the beans.
Like rice and beans. See, that's not good. That's why.
No, that's not necessarily not good. That somebody's wondering what that is. Makes me ask. You know, I'm interested.
It came up in conversation where I was talking with someone about for richer or poorer, basically, or for poorer to richer, the other way around.
Oh, okay,
So from
okay,
beans,
okay.
Beans, rice and beans to bank.
Oh, that's very cool. It is. It's beautiful. Your voice is just it's so interesting. You're so unique. I don't know what to say. I mean, that's what it is. And so you got applause over here. That guy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Tom Hubbard, food or bills?
Food or bills.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Kevin, thank you. Alan, thank you.
Yep, he's right. The first two lines.
Tracy, it has been so delightful to talk with you today. I am grateful for you being on the show and just having this time.
It's been really fun for me. You know, I like that there's only one song, too.
Yeah.
So there's no pressure. You know, it's just a conversation. And
it's just a
maybe
conversation.
it's long.
Yeah. Well, you squeezed that other little one in there, and I'm so
Yes,
glad
I
you did
did.
because that was nice.
I did.
That was a treat. Yeah. Thank you for your stories and for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you stay right there. Here's this awkward, moment where I'm just going to kick Tracy out. It's like the hook across the
The
stage.
hook.
Bye, Tracy.
Bye.
And I will say hi to everyone here. Let me just see here. I think I put Tracy's tip jar in the chat before, but I just popped it right back in there again. Every week I have a different guest on the show, and it is always a delight. They take their precious time. Time is, really the thing that we've got of value. And so I love it when I hear that folks are supporting the guests. If you would like to also support the show, I appreciate that as well. And that link tree that's scrolling by the bottom of the screen there is a way that you can do it. There's a link right there for my tip jar. Please follow Tracy on YouTube, on Spotify, Tracy, and the reinforcements and her children's music under her name. And I will see you here next week, same time, same place. Next week, my guest for episode 70 weeks of this show, I can't believe it, is Yasi Mespa. I met this songwriter, Yasi. She and I met also in a song circle. I loved her stuff, so I can't wait to have her on the show and for us to have our first ever conversation together. That will be next week. Take good care, be safe, be kind, and I will see you then.